We'll stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we got some health insurance proposals. Do you have it planned out as to who goes first or anything?
No, we didn't set a schedule as far as I know.
Heads or tails?
Yeah.
Ladies first, I'm fine with that.
What's that?
You do ladies first.
Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Normally, we have whoever's presenting is sits over there.
Okay.
So that way everybody can hear you over here.
Okay.
And then everything that we have received, I do have electronic.
Okay, and I haven't changed one thing, but I brought paper copies, so.
Oh, great, okay.
And I've got probably more paper copies of everything than Tracy and I can hand out one after this. That's right. Greetings and hands. What all do you need? I don't think anything. Okay. But I do have a vision ready. Okay. So I have a new financial exhibit that I will.
Okay. I'll pass this down.
So sorry.
I think we had two to start with.
Yeah. You just got one, right?
Got enough.
Did you want that on? You want it on?
It is on. It is on.
I think this is wonderful that you're able to do that.
Yes, so this is like for a request for best and final offer, and that's what this is. So the only difference is the price is a little better than what we had quoted before. I'm gonna pass those out too. Because we have a lot of paper for you, so what I thought I would do, depending on what you want to talk about, is give you a folder, and then you can just stick it all in there when they're done.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, do you have a copy?
How about that?
So basically, United Healthcare has proposed several different plan options. The first three are close to your plan design options that you have today. I would ask you to look seriously at what we're calling our primary advantage. You could fold that in as an additional option, or you could, or there's two of them. You could fold that in as an additional option, or take one of your current out and replace it with this one. I wouldn't think you would want more than 4 options for a group of your size, but you could certainly do that. The nice things about the primary advantage plans is that they have a $0 copay for primary care physician visits and virtual visits. And $0 copay. All our plans have that for children, but these plans have it for all ages. For specialists, it's a $100 copay. So it's more expensive to see a specialist, but people aren't having any out of pocket for routine care if you have like the flu or.
If your routine advises you to go to a specialist, does that then?
It would be
then you still
$100
have
copay.
Which option do you want?
The two options that are the primary advantages are 10 and 11 at the very back.
Do you want me to put anything up on the screen?
I didn't know that we would have anything electronic available, so I'm not prepared for that. So.
Well, I have option 10 and option 11 here.
Yeah,
If
the
there's
price will be
anything
wrong,
want
but you can
talk through it.
I also have detailed benefit summaries if anyone wants those as well, because I know these acronyms on this tiny little spreadsheet can be hard to decipher for those of us that don't do this every day.
And I would like to have a copy of it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Somehow, yes.
You've got those if you want. Then the other interesting thing about this type of plan is that the prescription drug plan is kind of the same way. For those that, those drugs that are in tier 1 or tier 2, it's typically a richer benefit than people are accustomed to. And then there's a $250 deductible and co-pays on tiers 3 and 4.
So on tier 1 and 2 is $5 and $50?
Correct.
Is that what I'm reading? So
5
for
and
your-
50.
For your basic drugs, would be like $5.
Yeah, a lot of drugs are in tier 1. And United Healthcare manages drugs a little bit more strategically than our competition, in that we don't do generic brand and preferred brand. For instance, we have asthma control agents in tier 1. There's no generics that do that, but we want people to be able to afford them.
Ah, very good.
We have some long-lasting insulin in tier 1. None of our competitors do, because they aren't available in generic. By the same token, we have, a lot of drugs are in tier 2 with our competitors. We might move the competing insulin up to 3, or we may even exclude it. But we have that option in tier 1, and that's why we've done it. So it makes it more affordable for the member, it makes it more affordable for the plan, and it keeps your premiums down long term. The other unique thing about United Healthcare is that we are the only insurance company that has a mail order facility in the state of Kansas. We actually have more employees in the state of Kansas than any of our competitors, because we have 3,000 employees in Overland Park at this mail order facility alone. And they do a lot of charity work for the state. We're also unique, and we're the only carrier that's also a Medicaid payer. So that's why our presence in the state is big. It's not just commercial business. We're in Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial business. So we can touch the lives of everyone regardless of their age or where they're getting their health insurance.
Your mail order prescription, can it be for 90 days? My company.
It's 90 days.
It can be for 90
It
days?
is, that's what it's designed for.
Designed for 90 days, no 6 months or,
No, it's 90 days.
okay.
Only the mail order is 90 days?
Oh, mail order and this doesn't help you in your geography, I don't think, CVS. People can go to CVS and get a 90-day supply.
So we could get a
So local pharmacy
It would
is
be 30 days.
30 days.
There is CVS's though, like in Junction City, I think Salina has them, so they are local.
Yeah.
I mean, I see them all over the place, yes.
There's more than you think throughout the
Oh,
state.
yeah, there is. Yeah, okay. I know Manhattan has them. I'm not sure about Wichita, I would think.
Wichita does.
Okay, okay.
The easiest way for members to use the benefit is through mail order, though. It's, it's automatic. It's not like the old days where you had to fill out a form. It's all electronic now. Your doc can send it in electronically. A couple days later, you've got that package at home.
Okay.
What happens when all of a sudden you look at your pill bottle and it says no prescriptions left and you got one pill? How do you handle that? Local pharmacy, you can go down, they give you 2 pills, you get it refilled.
There's a couple solutions for that. Typically, we've already texted you or emailed you or however you ask us to communicate with you way before that happens, so you don't get to that point. But if you do, then your doctor could call in, like a 10-day supply to the local pharmacy and give us a couple days to ship it to you. But we're proactive about reaching out to you saying, hey, this needs a refill.
That's good, I've never heard of really receiving reminders like that.
The other thing that's a little unique is you can actually price the drugs. So we'll tell you which local pharmacy is more cost effective. Not even just for your portion, but for our portion as well as mail order. So it will tell you what's the most cost effective. If there's alternatives, we just launched an application for our providers. So when they're prescribing you something, they can actually get a message right away that says, this is the long-lasting insulin on tier 1. Why don't you prescribe this for that person? It'll be more cost effective. You can also price our medical services. So we have an app that people can have on their smartphones. You can obviously use a computer too. But within our app, you can price a medical service before you have it done. And we are unique in that we give you the actual contracted rate for that provider. So if you're going to see Dr. Smith and you want to know what that office visit is for an established patient, we will tell you what Dr. Smith charges for that before you go.
Back up to medicine a while ago, you said cost effectiveness. That's not cost comparison to our, we have 3 local dealers in our county,
Mhm.
drug stores.
Mhm.
And you don't do nothing comparison cost to each one of them, do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that, that's pretty important
Mhm.
because our local stores depend on Marion County business.
Right.
So, thank you.
So do all the providers take except United Healthcare?
Yes, most of the providers, our network is very robust. We have a contract with every hospital in the state. I'm not aware of any gaps in Marion County that would differentiate us from anybody else.
Physicians' offices.
And the hospitals as well, even like through Wichita and everything?
We have every hospital in the state of Kansas.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
said that. You just said
Yeah.
that. Okay, great.
And remember, we represent Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial business to them, so they've got a lot of reasons to sign up with United Healthcare.
And I know there was some concern because United, years ago, as I hear, was struggling a little bit. But I understand that there's been a huge revamping
Mhm.
and that there's now really just taking off and the service being provided as well as price structure has become one of the top.
So a little bit about our service for your members. We have a very unique service model. It's called Advocate for Me. And we realized a couple years ago that the more we can help a person when they call, it benefits all of us. And if we want to call a person, if someone's pregnant, we want them to join a healthy pregnancy program. Everybody's got a smartphone and they see we're calling. They're not going to take our call. That's not the way the world works anymore. So we wanted to provide everything to a person when they call us. So when a person calls us, they get full advocacy service. What that means is we'll help them find a provider. If they need to make an appointment, we'll help them make an appointment with a provider. And it's a tiered service as well. So if you have a member that has a significant illness, when they call in, they don't go to a customer service rep. They're going to speak to a nurse, either an RN or an LPN, because a lot of times they need some proactive help. Like your next course of your treatment is going to be this. Can I help you find a United Healthcare provider for durable medical equipment or whatever, is next in your treatment? And if they want to make a suggestion about a drug or a provider, we want them to be a clinical background because that's going to establish credibility for the member, and obviously they can provide more than just this is your benefits, this is how that claim is going to be processed. Then we have a middle layer for people who don't have a significant issue, but they have more than most. And then we have that, that basic customer service for those people that call once a year and say, what's my deductible, or is my, routine physical covered? And that's, kind of an everyday question. It's very unique in the industry. It's won a lot of awards. And the other thing it allows us to do, we have a lot of wellness programs, and it helps us get people engaged with them. Did you know you could be in this wellness program and you could be getting a reward for this or that? Because, again, when they're calling us, they want to talk about all of this. They don't want us calling them at dinner or whatever. So it's really increased our engagement and our ability to recruit people into these programs.
When you say a reward, is that a number of dollars off of your subscription for your next year's subscription or
So-
anything?
Most of our plans include this Simply Engaged wellness program. The only ones that don't on that sheet are the ones called Motion, because Motion is more of a complicated wellness program. But with this program, this is a great wellness program because it's turnkey and that United Healthcare administers it and we provide the incentives. They're fully funded. So this is included in the premium that we've shown you. And you can see what the rewards are. So all of your enrolled employees and their spouses can earn rewards up to $200 each per year if they participate in these various wellness activities. And you can see one of them is, if you use we talked about how you can price your services. If you look at the bottom one, if you estimate a healthcare cost on our website or on our app, you get a $25 reward just for doing that.
How is the reward given out?
They're gift cards, and there's
Gift cards?
oodles of choices of
Okay.
the kind of gift cards that you can choose from.
My company takes, if you do the health screening and things like that's on here, different ones, you get so much, the next year you get $10 a month off your premium or something like that. But if we changed, my problem with that, if this one was like that, we may change next year if we change. Then
Right.
then
Yeah, this
people
doesn't
wouldn't-
work like
the
that.
employees wouldn't have no benefits, so if it comes right to a gift card, why,
Yeah, it goes right to their home.
yeah, it's instant, is what it is, once it's completed.
Talk about some of the preventive type services, the labs, x-rays, or how they pay on that.
So preventive care, that is truly preventive care, is covered at 100%, and that would be true with everyone because that's mandated by ACA.
Okay.
And then again, on those primary advantage plans, it would be a $0 copay. I should mention on our other plans, we also have virtual visits on every plan. And the copay is $20 for a virtual visit. So with our app, one of the things you can also do is launch a virtual visit. So if you've got a minor illness like sore throat, or kid has an ear infection or pink eye. One of my coworkers got pink eye from her grandson the other day, and I heard her over there, and the doctor online said, put the iPad up close to your eye. Yeah, that's pink eye. Where do you want me to send the script? And they could send the script to the local pharmacy. And, boy, it doesn't have to take time off work. It's very cost effective, and it's very convenient.
And that costs $20.
It's $20 in the regular plans, and then those primary advantage plans, it's $0.
I see, okay.
Another wellness thing we have is our weight loss program called Real Appeal. And Real Appeal is a program that we launched a couple years ago for our large self-funded customers. And it was so successful that we rolled it out and embedded it in our fully insured programs. And while I don't look like a success story, I will tell you, because I did pilot the program, it's a virtual program that people can do, with a smartphone or a tablet. You have a confidential group coaching session every week. They cover one topic, and the idea is you make a lot of really small changes, and then collectively they add up. So it's a year-long program, and it's been very successful. I wish I had that statistic. There's a huge statistic how many people have lost weight in the United States because of Real Appeal. We've been looking for years for a program that we could roll out this way because we had the technology to do it, but we weren't able to get people involved. And we got smart, and we co-ventured, did a joint venture with the guy at the time who had just retired from running Beachbodies. And he knows how to get people marketing much more than insurance companies do. And so Real Appeal is headquartered in Hollywood, and they have real actors, people you would recognize in these videos that they do. When I enrolled in it, I wasn't in it for the right reasons. I was in it to pilot it, to sell it. I wasn't in it because I really wanted to lose weight. I lost 3 pounds the first 6 months. But then January 1 rolled around, and all of a sudden I was on I need to lose weight New Year's resolution. And I lost 25 the last 6, and I've maintained it for 3 years. And I made a lot of permanent changes. I didn't make some of them, I'll admit that. I don't exercise to this day. But I made a lot of permanent changes that I'm surprised I made. And that is at no cost to your members.
And on that Real Appeal program, when Denise was talking about the numbers, I just went to a training in Minnesota a few weeks ago. It said that right now, over the last year or so, we've had over 100,000 people that have participated with over 1 million pounds lost. So they get a kit in the mail. It has a scale, it has a food scale, it has all different types of things weight loss DVDs, exercise DVDs, cookbooks, healthy eating cookbooks, of course. And then in a few months, they get a food blender to make like protein shakes or whatever they'd like to at home. So it's a really amazing program, but we talked about it a lot, but it was over 1 million pounds that people lost, the last 100,000 people that have been enrolled in it, so.
The other program that's a little unique to us is what we call Care 24. And Care 24 is an employee assistance program and a nurse line combined together. So what that means, if someone is going through, some emotionally troubling times, they can call in. They will either be referred to a local behavioral health specialist, or they'll be talking to a clinician, over the phone, depending on, what the situation is and how badly they need immediate attention. They may be told to go to a hospital too, if it's real bad. But Care 24 does use just our regular behavioral health providers in the network. They will get up to 3 visits are included at the plan at no cost to the member. And then after that, if it morphs into, the medical benefits, they're already in network. So there's no disconnect between an employee assistance program and the medical plan, which sometimes happens.
Is that 3 visits per year or 3 visits?
Per person per year.
Per person per year?
Per covered person per year.
Okay.
And then the other nice thing about it is it's also a nurse line. So people can call in. It allows us to say, hey, is it behavioral health, or do they just need to know if they need to go to the emergency room, or can they wait and see the pediatrician in the morning? And they can talk to a nurse and go through that as well. And it's a 24/7 service. And it's very unique. I don't know of anyone else that has those 2 combined into one. It works really well for us.
And that has no price to it, no color?
It's included in all of our fully insured programs.
Okay.
Actually, we'll pass out a brochure on the Care 24. You want to do the virtual visits too?
I just used virtual visits a few weeks ago. My son called me on Wednesday night and said they had the flu. And on Friday afternoon, I started feeling kind of bad. And they were at immediate care while I was on the phone with the virtual visits nurse. And it took 35 minutes from the time I called in till the time I was back home with Tamiflu, and they were still at immediate care. So it really is an amazing program. And mine costs $40 and theirs costs $360, so there's that.
The other thing we offer, although we're starting to run out of time on it, but we also have the ability to offer online enrollment at no additional cost. And that allows us to, show the plans to people, ask them a couple questions so they would know which plan. It might work well for you if you're offering different plans than you have in the past. It also gives us the opportunity to reach out to people for Real Appeal or for our Healthy Pregnancy program at time of enrollment. And we can get everything up and rolling just a little bit earlier than we would otherwise.
So, under this Care 24, it even has legal concerns?
Mm-hmm. Yes, through the employee assistance program. My mother lives in St. Louis. She has Alzheimer's, and I needed to do some power of attorneys, and I just got them off of there free, filled in the blanks, and had her sign them.
Except when you're going to sue United Healthcare, they won't do that.
Yeah. Another thing that's unique about our app and our website is you can pay your provider from when you go and you can look up your claims, but you can also pay your share that you owe the provider. And we're the only major insurance company that allows that. So your co-insurance or your deductible that you may owe to the hospital or a lab, not only can you look at what we paid and what the discount was, but you just click a couple buttons and you can, you put a credit card on file and you can pay the provider and will electronic, if they accept electronic payment, you can pay them from that website as well.
I really like the no copays for your family. And you said that that goes to the adults and the children.
On the primary advantage plans,
Yeah.
yes. On those first 3 plans, or really on all the other plans on that sheet, it's a 0 kid copay, so it's up to age 19 is a $0 copay for children when they visit a primary care physician.
Okay, for immunizations or anything, injuries.
Correct, if it's a primary care physician.
Okay.
That changes when they turn 19 if you keep continuing on your insurance to
Correct.
26.
What is the regular copay for everyone else? Are you gonna go through like the way the plans are structured, the copays and?
We can. Do you want to go through all of them? Because we have 11.
I got mine. She didn't, what did she take up, 25 minutes so far?
Yeah, we can do that. Let me get my paperwork straight.
I'll let that be.
Well,
Confusing.
it might be confusing, but, how do we narrow that down?
My recommendation would be to, I would, if it were my decision, I would take 2 of your current options. So that's 1, 2, or 3, and it would, it would make most financial sense to get rid of 1, but that's the hardest decision for members. And then I would add in 10 or 11.
So you're saying 1, 2, and 3, and
I wouldn't add all, I wouldn't do all of those. I would drop one of them. I would either drop 1 or 2, I think, because they're the 2 most expensive.
okay.
And they're a lot alike. The difference is just there's more out-of-pocket expenses to the members. And so I would flush in the primary advantage, which is a completely different option. It's going to provide more options to people because they're different.
Okay.
And I would add both of those. I would add in 10 and 11. Because you can see they're very affordable compared to
Yes.
compared to any of them that come close to matching current.
This 10 and 11, yes, I agree with you, is that way, but also down here, one of the bottom lines I look at is out of pocket. I also see that 10 and 11 can be 10 to 20,000, where 1, 2, and 3 can be, well, 3
No,
is.
that's out of the, that's out of.
That's
the-
only if you got a network.
Out of network,
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
It's on 11, it's 6,500 in network.
Okay, in network.
In
Okay.
network, yeah.
Is that single or family?
That's single.
What is family?
If you're in network on that plan, and that's gonna have the highest out of pocket, it's 13,000, or 2 times the 650. So on the current, the options that are current, the copays are $35 for primary care physician and a specialist, and a $0 copay for kids. And then the deductible on one is $500 in network. It's $1,000 on option 2, just like you have today. 80% coinsurance after the deductibles. And then the drug plan for those is 3-tier, and it's 10, 30, 50 copays.
And so option 2 has a total out of pocket for an individual of 4,500, right?
In
And
network,
then-
that is correct, Diane.
Yes, and then 9,000 for total family.
Correct.
Okay.
You're reading that correctly. And then some other, abbreviations on that page. UC is urgent care, ER is emergency room, and then major diagnostic is MD.
We need one whole dictionary just for acronyms in the
Yeah.
insurance world.
Well, we get called UHC a lot, so our name could be an acronym, so.
Does anybody have any specific questions out here so far? Nobody? Okay,
I've got a couple broad-based.
go ahead.
United, I take, is the largest health insurer in the country.
Correct.
So what is their philosophy for rate stabilization going down the road? And part two of that, how much of a percentage increase are the rates that we're looking at over prior year?
So there's a couple questions in there. The first question is, you're right, we are the largest health insurer in the United States. We are national. The advantage of that is when your members travel or they have dependents that go away to college, it's one network, it's single. So, you're not showing an ID card that indicates any specific geography. It's one national network. As far as rate stability, these wellness programs, I think, show our commitment that we think we want people to become more engaged, and we want to work with you to get your employees more engaged in their program. We believe that better information can help people make better decisions, and then they're going to be healthier, and then the plan is going to be financially healthier. Now that's a long term. That doesn't happen in 1 year. It's a long-term commitment. As far as, we were competitive last year, and we're competitive this year. So I think that shows that we are consistent. It wouldn't be in our best interest to come in here for 1 year, and that's not our style, to price it for 1 year and not be able to renew it. It happens, but that is never our goal.
So you're saying your 2018 rates are basically increased 10% over 2017?
Not necessarily. We've actually, the last 3 years, we've actually, on our commercial business, large group in Kansas, asked for a rate decrease 2 or 3 years in a row. It wasn't big. But that's the base rates. And then on top of that, it's going to be, how did your demographics change? And what was utilization? Neither of those will be used 100% because your group's not large enough for either one, but it will be, and we have a specific formula we go through. And it'll be, if everyone got older and you didn't hire any younger people in, your demographics are a little worse than they were the year before. And utilization is a part of that as well.
Would it be okay if she goes through option 10 and option 2, the $1,000 deductibles, and what the differences are between the regular, like option 2?
Option 10 versus 10.
2 versus 2.
Yeah, we can do that.
Is that okay?
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's
All right.
Option 2 is, it's modified 2, ABHN modified 2. So option 2, again, has a $35 copay for office visits, whether it's a primary care physician or a specialist. And it still has that $0 kid copay for primary care visits. It's got a $35 copay for urgent care. Emergency room is a $100 copay, and the member pays 20%. And major diagnostic is deductible and co-insurance. It's got a $1,000 deductible in network, and there's 2 per family, so it's $2,000 per family. After that, the plan pays 80%. Your out-of-pocket is $4,500 for an individual, $9,000 for family, as long as you stay in network. And then on 10, if you want to scroll to 10, ANEC, the primary advantage plan, again, $0 copay, all ages for a primary care physician visit, but it's a $100 copay for specialist. Urgent care is a $50 copay. ER is a $250 copay. Everything else is going to be deductible and co-insurance. And the deductible in network is $1,000, and the family is $2,000. After that, the plan pays 80%. The member pays 20%. The out-of-pocket is $6,500. That's all your copays and your co-insurance. Everything goes to that bucket of $6,500, including drugs. And then the drugs are a $5 copay for tier 1, $50 copay for tier 2. And then there's a $250 drug deductible on 3 and 4. And those copays are $100 and $250 per prescription.
What kind of drugs would go into those tiers 3 and 4? I
The
mean,
most,
what kind of
the most expensive
tier
ones.
for very ill people?
Do you have your formulary list?
I do.
Okay. Sorry, that'll outline everything.
I just read a statistic yesterday when I was doing some training that less than 1% of members are on a specialty drug. So I know we all get kind of hung up on that. And for that 1%, it's, you know, going to be a little bit more. But for the other 99%, most of us aren't on a specialty drug, so.
But I was thinking too, it had to be something like maybe your chemotherapies or
Not
something like that.
necessarily.
Diabetic,
Like I said, we tend to move things around.
okay.
So we might have, because we have a long-lasting insulin on tier 1, then in order to get a good price on that with that drug manufacturer, we probably had to move another up to 3.
Oh,
So
I
you'll
see.
have people that are happy and you'll have people that are not happy.
Mhm.
You won't hear from the happy people.
Mhm.
You hear from the unhappy people. But we've given them an option.
Right, okay.
So in order to read this, it's typically better if you go to the back and look them up alphabetically, unless you really know a lot about drugs. And, you know, this list is about 80% of them. If I brought in a list that covered everything, I couldn't walk in the door, so. And what this drug list will tell you, if you, like, turn to page 8, like you see all those antibiotics, most of them are in tier 1. And this is a 4-tier list. So if you're for tier 3, just combine, or for that first plan, you combine 3 and 4 because they're all in 3. But I didn't want to give you 2 lists, that's confusing.
Okay.
If it has an E by it, that means that particular drug is excluded. So if you look at all those antibiotics, there's one that's excluded.
So it wouldn't be paid at
It
all?
wouldn't be covered at all.
Okay.
But there's always an alternative that's covered, always.
Okay.
If it says SL, that means there's a supply limit, which you have in your plan today. Certain drugs the manufacturer recommends you only take so many per month. Typically, plans cover that amount. PA means it needs a prior authorization. Again, that's in your drug plan today.
Just off the top, they don't pay for any type of compounding, do they?
Yes, as long as all the ingredients
Oh,
are a
really?
covered ingredient, we do cover them.
Oh, because I know a lot of them don't get into compounding and stuff sometimes.
It's been a focus the last couple years,
Mhm.
but really the industry, we've kind of settled that down. There's not as much abuse there. But the way we handle it is if all the individual ingredients are covered, we're going to cover it.
Good.
When we first came in and you gave us 2 benefit summaries at the beginning, are those for those primary, which, the first 2 that you gave, they're the ANED and
Yeah,
ANEC?
the ones that start with AN are all primary advantage. Another thing I should mention is that our standard is to mail ID cards to members' homes. Members can also pull up their ID card on our app. So if you're at the pharmacy and you've forgotten your ID card, you can still access it, and you can from your phone email it, show it, or fax it to the provider.
Is that if you remember the password?
Yes, of course. You have to get
Then
in.
might as well just leave it on.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember the password.
It's got to be secure.
I noticed on the family rates and things, it's really, really did help. It really came down some.
Yeah, it's 2% less overall, but
Mhm.
2% of those bigger numbers add up to more dollars.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
The plans I didn't talk about, and I'll tell you why, is these motion plans. And they're a little bit different in that with motion plans, employees and spouses can get a device and they can actually walk down their deductible. So we've integrated the wellness plan into the health insurance plan. There's 3 goals daily that each member could meet. And we would set up a fund where we actually would contribute money if they meet some or part of those goals, and they can use that towards their deductible.
Is there any limits on that, or is it just?
It is, they can earn $4 a day
Oh, really?
towards their deductible, the employee and the spouse,
Combined?
combined, correct, correct. Most people don't earn the maximum, but most earn something.
Okay. Is there anything that we didn't ask that comes to your mind that would be?
We hit on everything but basically. Didn't go into depth on anything, but.
Right, okay. Wow, there's a lot of material here.
I know.
That's good though. I like a lot of material. So does anybody else have any questions or anything that you can come up with at the moment for United?
The only other thing I would add is that we do provide, I won't pass it out because I don't want to burden you, but we do provide a hard copy and electronic member materials for open enrollment. And we would be available to come on site and do meetings as well if you desire that.
Okay.
And we thank you for your time and appreciate your consideration.
Well, we thank you for coming down and all your hard work.
Yeah, but I'm going back with too much paper. I was hoping to give it all away.
These people out here may ask you for something.
Really appreciate your effort to keep the premium down. I know that's sometimes not easy to do.
Drop that phone.
For days.
Anybody's toes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay. Thank you.
You want to do one extra just in case?
Mr. Brian Rhodes,
Yes.
nice to see you.
Good to be here. I think she shot it at you.
It's yours.
All right, within your packet, there's a quick little PowerPoint that I wanted to kind of start with, because I really didn't want to have the conversation just on rates and benefits, because there's so many more things that you heard from Denise and Tracy, some of the things that they're doing, but I kind of wanted to just walk through this if you indulge me for a moment. Inside the first page is, our core beliefs. We're going to join our members on their personal health journey and try to make healthcare simple. Because one of the scenarios that we realized is that if you can get better engagement, if you have the right support, you can also make smarter choices through improved experiences. And you'll see a lot through our, through this, I'll kind of get back to that. High quality, cost effective care using local models. And a number of those local models, we had a couple different ways that we quoted your business, where we have a called Wesley Preferred, where it excludes certain hospitals out of the Wichita area, so it's not up here, but it's in the Wichita area. Basically, it's Wesley only. It excludes all of the Via Christi hospitals, Kansas Medical Center, Kansas Heart, Kansas Spine, but Wesley gave us a significant discount on the prices to kick everybody else out. So that's kind of what that's talking about. So I would definitely recommend looking at that as an option.
If we went to one of the others that you mentioned, that we would be an out-of-pocket,
It'd be out of network. If we did one of the Wesley Preferreds, then that would be out of network. But on our others, it's got everything in there. On page 4, one of the things that we've looked at is we need to make things simple. Insurance, we got all these acronyms and a number of ways that we look at things, but what we know is if we can help people to understand their health insurance and help them to make better choices, then they're going to be an informed consumer. And an informed consumer will definitely assist with keeping your costs down. And it's not so much looking at trying to keep the costs down for us, but when you go out there to look up certain procedures and you see that an MRI over here is $1,200, you can get the MRI over here for $600. And if you're on a higher deductible health plan, which one are you going to do? So we're going to try to make that easy, and I'll show you that a little bit more. The employees need control, so we want to have the right tools at the right time. If you're not taking specialty medications, if you're not in a certain treatment regimen, some of the tools that we have out there aren't going to be any benefit to you. You can look at them; they're nice to have, but once they're germane to you, then you'll be able to see them, and they're all out there. You'll be an empowered consumer. Personalization, through our wellness programs and through the HRAs and through our care engine, we're going to take a lot of data and put that all together, work with providers, additionally work with the individual members on kind of what's going on with their health. So if you turn the page on to page 5, one of the scenarios, a lot of people say my genetics are causing my health care. And what we found right here is diet and exercise. I can cure a whole lot of things with diet and exercise. Sometimes I choose, I kind of have the attitude once in a while that if everybody's losing weight, somebody's got to find it. But with regard to this, you can see that 10% is within the healthcare control. Sometimes people don't have healthcare available. This is not an area that you're going to be underserved in healthcare. Kansas is really one of the better states with regard to that. You've got 20% is social and environmental factors, income levels, and that. With your benefits, as rich as they are, quite frankly, with the $500, $1,000, $1,500 deductible that you currently have, I don't see that in a lot of other plans. I see, some of our benefits start, or some of our deductibles start at $3,500 and on up. So that helps with your social. And then 40% is regarding individual behavior, the choices that I was talking about, what you want to do. The next page, page 6, is really where we're taking all of our data that we have on you, whether it's self-reported through an HRA, whether it's through the pharmacies, when you fill a prescription, whether it's case notes from doctors. All that goes into our our care engine. Within that care engine, we have reports that go out to providers, reports that go out to members, and then we'll be able to show the plan sponsors. We call them care considerations. And when I look at reports from a lot of the employers that we have, is about 20% of our care considerations are Mr. and Mrs. Employer or Mr. and Mrs. Provider, you need to do more care, not less care. You need, based upon what's happening with this individual, with all the data that we have, we're recommending that you do more severe treatment or more intensive treatment with regard to that. We also will catch some of the drug interactions. If you're going to a primary care physician, they're prescribing one thing and somebody else is prescribing another that could potentially have an adverse effect. A lot of that is caught through the pharmacy, but there are some times when we could say, hey, you know, we've seen this combination of drugs. It can pose a risk in some people, so we're going to notify the provider, and we'll also notify the member to say, hey, you know, we've reached out to your provider. Here's some things we think that we ought to try for this this condition or that condition. So we will be able to see actually one of the care consideration reports. It takes over a quarter to get individual information in there. So sometime late second quarter, and if you select us, you'll be able to see some of those. Exploring all the pathways to successful outcomes. I only left this in here because I think it's cute. You know, they have little kids always wearing their parents' shoes and all that. This is talking about behavioral health and the holistic approach that we're gonna take on that. But it also supports, you know, the right service at the right time based upon what we're looking at. With regard to our wellness programs, we're going to provide a blood draw. That is no charge to the plan. So then based upon that, each individual person that took that is going to get, here are your, you know, this is what we found. Here's some recommendations that you can do. And then as a result of that, electronically you can go out online onto your Navigator portal, and it'll give you the opportunity to take some, whether it's, you know, smoking cessation or, you know, how to lower cholesterol and all that. You can take one of those journeys and you're eligible for, back to the gift card, a $50 gift card for the individual and a $50 gift card for the spouse. All of that is going to work together. So if you look at it, that's a little over $6,000 that we're putting up front if all of your members and all of your spouses would actually take advantage of that. The right experience for every member. I kind of had another page in here on the wellness programs, but I wanted to be able to, on the next page, you've got, if you turn it up, you'll see the top will be what is on your phone with our Aetna Navigator, and the bottom is the experience you'll get with regard to our website. So with regard to this, you know, we heard the exclusive thing earlier, but all of our plans, when you go in, you're going to see where you are on your deductible. If you go in and look at a service, we did not put any emergency services. We don't want you price shopping. If you're having a true emergency, get to the hospital. Don't wait. But some of the elective things, the MRI, a lot of the lab tests, some of the surgeries, elective surgeries, we're going to put that in there. If you want to go see a primary care physician, you want to know what their office visit costs. It actually has what our allowed charges or our negotiated rates are. It knows where you are, the deductible. It'll tell you, hey, this is a copay event, and then it shows how much that the plan would actually pay on that. So you can do all that. With regard to the pharmacy, you can look at all the pharmacies. Your question before is, you know, does it show individual pharmacies? Yes, it does. So you can see, oh, it might be less expensive, you know, down the road or on that. When we talked about the CVSs, one thing that individuals forget about the CVSs is CVS also has all the Targets. So if there's a pharmacy and a Target, that's a CVS pharmacy too. So you'll be able to go there. So when you look in Wichita, there's 7 locations in Wichita, even though there are only 2 CVS branded stores. So, you know, don't forget about that, because I think there are some up north. I believe it was Junction City you mentioned.
Junction City and
up
Salina,
in that,
yes.
in that regard as well. So, you know, this middle, the average cost, you know, you can pay your bill right there online. If you know, I didn't propose any HSA, but if you had an HSA balance, you can just say, hey, you have to go ahead and pay this out of here. Or you can set up a credit card and you can actually pay it once you see this is my member responsibility. You can pay that right from your EOB online.
Can we ever have a health savings account balance ever proposed to us before?
We have a flexible spending account. We don't have the health savings. We have we have flex accounts, but it's a maximum of $1,200 a year. Then you but you don't use, you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically
if you sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Everybody always uses it though. I've not seen anybody lose anything over there. So.
Yeah, you don't want to not, because
Right.
it stays. With regard on the prescriptions, you can also get the refills, and you can, work with our providers right there online. The next page just talks a little bit about the real-time out-of-pocket estimates. There are over 650 services. That's, put a little meat on the bones of, you can look at a lot of the procedures. You can compare the costs for up to 10 providers at one time. And then if you didn't like those answers, you can ask for another 10 to have it populate. And then again, just in writing, estimates are based on the actual benefit plan. It's as if a claim was being adjudicated right then. So now, if you look at it and 3 weeks later, you go out and have that service, and you had another service in the meantime, and you've met more of your deductible, that could change in that regard. And you also have the opportunity to read the patient reviews and some of the reviews for the providers. So you can see kind of, you can dig into that and really determine kind of which provider you want to go to. The cost-effective models of care. I put page 15 in, not because this is what we're proposing, but what I wanted to show is with Aetna, we believe that the delivery of healthcare is a local phenomenon, and we work very closely with the providers in the area. So when you look at population-based and savings, how do you generate the most savings? Well, a lot of them are accountable care organizations. We have a lot of talk about that. Pay for performance, patient-centered medical homes. We do have a program where you can select a primary care physician. They route all your care. If they don't write a referral, it goes to non-network. I didn't quote that for you now, but I wanted to show that you have a lot more options to grow with us if you go with Aetna, and then we can take you into those other models of care if it's something you wanted to look at a little later in regard to that. The other, I was in Phoenix the last 3 days, and I got in at midnight last night, so I did get our dental and our vision quotes out. And why I say that is we have, I mentioned that everywhere we have a data source, we're compiling the data. If we have the dental on you, we have a program called Dental Medical Integration, or DMI, we say for short. So what we know is there is a high correlation to premature births with periodontal disease. So if you're diagnosed as pregnant, if you're pregnant, and we identify we identify that, then if you have our dental program, we're going to get you another scaling, and so that you can go and have an additional office visit with your dentist, even if it's, you got your every two, you got your cleaning, we'll give you a whole other cleaning, and all of that is paid at no charge to the plan. We just know that, and I've got another flyer on a little bit farther in, but a lot of the things that are tied, the medical and dental are tied through, your mouth is kind of the gateway to the body, and some of the things that happen there, and we've identified that there's a significant amount of savings on the medical side that, if you eliminate one premature birth, we're definitely willing to pay on the dental side to help offset that. And you also don't want to have, I've had a 29-weeker and we adopted a 26-weeker, so I'm fully aware of the premature and all the issues that come with that.
How would the employee that's diagnosed or becomes that way, get in that situation, know that they would have this extra thing available?
We're going to reach out. Once that occurs, our dental program will then say, hey, congratulations. We've seen that you're in prenatal care. We see that your last dental visit was this time. We want to offer these additional services for you at no charge. We want you to get in and actually see the dentist, whether it's a periodontist or a dentist. It kind of depends on what the program is or what the condition is.
I was just thinking of the spouse of the employee that has not sat here and heard this and may not
Right.
have read
We'll
something.
reach out. Absolutely. Yep. So the Aetna Dental Medical Integration, you see that 20% enjoy better health. We've identified 2.2 million members at risk. And I've got a little more color on that a little bit farther than that, but over 50% of the members who received the outreach went to the dentist every year since, and this is as of 2007. based upon our own data. The vision plan, just very, very high level. We offer 3 different programs, a high, medium, and low. You can choose whichever plan you wanted to do on that. And then, of course, you got the Aetna logo, and then our disclaimer page, and then just Aetna at a glance. That's in the back. Been around since 1853. About 23.1 million medical members, 14.5 million dental members, 15.2 pharmacy. And within the networks, there's 1.2 million in our national network. It's not tied to anything right here in just Kansas, and so if you're traveling out, you can see any of the providers that are in there. Value-based contracts, we have over 1,700 of those, and there are over 80 ACOs around, and then Wichita will have an ACO at some point in the near future. Won't come quite all the way up here, but you would be able to select that at some point. Still on the right-hand side, this is a flyer that talks a little bit more about, I told you about the $50 that everybody has available. This explains the plan a little bit more on that. Don't want to know we're on the time thing. I don't want to go totally through it.
We got time.
Okay. So basically, the most important piece here, to earn your $50, you do your health assessment and one online coaching journey. And what's nice is that we're going to give you some actionable data on here's where your markers came from, here's some things we think you can do that would help you to be able to get healthier. We have a lady in the office that used to be our wellness coordinator, and she's a diabetic. She's a grandma and a little bit older than I am, and was on 5 medications. And through our program and identifying, she came to my office 6 months ago and said, Brian, I can now see retirement. I said, well, I don't want you to retire, because she's a valued member of the team. But I said, walk that out for me. What does that mean for you? She said, with the tools that Aetna provides, I was able to get serious about what I was doing, and through diet and exercise alone, I'm off all 5 of my diabetes medications. So, it's hard to tie a return on investment to many things, but when you have an individual there that doesn't have to buy the medication any longer, that's a significant savings to the plan, but it's a significant savings to the person as well. And her point was, if I had to buy all these on a fixed income, I'd be hard pressed to be able to retire. So, there's a lot of things with the tools that are really going to try to help you get to your maximum level of health. The next thing down is I talked a lot about the dental medical integration, and this is a flyer on that. If you can see on here, this isn't Aetna saying, hey, look at how good we are. This is the Columbia University College of Dental Medicine. And Aetna, looking at our data was how we came up with, the 20% of the employees engaged in better health. The results were the lower medical claims, fewer hospital admission, better diabetes control, fewer preterm deliveries, better use of cost-saving preventative care, and less need for major and basic services. So, and then right below that, putting data to work. The 2.5 million at-risk members who've received the enhanced dental benefits, they got an extra cleaning, removing major deposits on the teeth, and periodontal maintenance. And the periodontal's mainly for the pregnant ladies in that. The rest on the right-hand page is just all of the actual quotes. On the left-hand side, we have the plan of benefits we offer. We put out a $500, $1,000, $1,500 benefit plan. So, Terry, you could pull up the OAMC 500/80/50 is the one that I'm going to be talking specifically about. 3,500, yeah, right there, that one. Okay, so as you can see, this plan basically has a $500 deductible. After your deductible, it goes to 80/20. The max payment limit is $3,500, and that includes any copay, any co-insurance, and any deductible. So on the $500 plan, it has 3,500 individual, 7,000 family. On the next page, it breaks out the office visits for a PCP is $25. Any specialists are $50. Urgent care provider is going to be $75 copay, and that deductible will be waived in that regard. Emergency room, we have a $200 copay, and then it's 20% after deductible if you get in a situation there. We do have telemedicine where you can pick up the phone. It's called Teledoc. You can call the number for Teledoc. They can look at whatever's going on. If you the pink eye, we used that example before. The flu and that, it's going to be your primary care physician's copayment for $25 if you utilize that. And it is a doctor licensed in Kansas that's going to call you back when you say you need those additional services. On page 5 is the prescription drug coverage. We have a little different scenario on our tiers. Within tier 1, it's mainly deductible is what we have. Tier 1A, which has a $3 copay on a list of over 100 different generics. You just pay the $3. The preferred generics, it's going to be a $10 copay. When you get into tier 2, the preferred brand name drugs is a $35 copay, and then the non-preferred generic is a $60 copay. You get into any of the specialty drugs, it's a 20% up to $150, or if it's non-preferred up to $250. And I will send Tara, I'll send you the link for the searchable formulary, because to the point before you start printing out formularies, it can be very, very, very large. But you get in the link, and then you can look it up, and then determine also if you have any, maybe you're on a brand name, but there are 2 or 3 generics available, and one might even be under the $3 version. You can do that through either that searchable formulary, or once you become a member through your Navigator portal I showed you, either on the phone or iPad or on your computer. You'll be able to check those. The difference between the $1,000, everything stays the same with regard to it goes to $1,000, and then your maximum out of pocket goes to $4,000, so $4,000, $8,000. And then on the $1,500, the highest price one that I had quoted, then it goes to $4,500, $9,000 on the out-of-pocket limit. Those are kind of the differences there. And one thing, Diane was asking me if there was a way I could shave anything off. I talked to the underwriters, and what they came back with is if we were to bundle the dental, the vision, and the medical, I can take 2% off all the rates that we've got currently quoted. And, so if that's something of interest, I can get you a new rate sheet on that. One thing that I did notice on the rate sheet, as I was working, I got in early this morning, I started looking at it. I think that our underwriter made a mistake on one of the tiers, because if you look, the $1,000 tier was more expensive than the $500 tier on family, which makes absolutely no sense. So on the back to the right hand side, I gave these are the 4-tier rates, but it kind of shows you what I wanted you to think about is when I talk to a number of employers, the employers are very reluctant to limit choice for the employees. So what I would suggest is if you offered the 3 plans that you currently have on our broad network, I would suggest offering the $1,000 and the $500 Wesley Preferred, because if you look at the $1,500 deductible, and these rates, if you buy them all, they're going to be 2% less, but basically you're looking at a $1,500 deductible for our open network is $597. The $1,000 deductible on the Wesley Preferred is $563, or a $34 savings. So if you were to pass that savings along to the individual employees, if they were okay with going to Wesley and not having the other hospitals in the Wichita area, that may be a savings that they would seriously consider. And then you look at the $1,000 deductible, it was $626. The $500 deductible on the Wesley Preferred was $590, so that's a $35 savings there. So I would just suggest if you're looking at that, make that an option. Let the members see. What I've found is we've got a lot of larger employers that have provided that option out there and allowed the members to save the money and actually get the richer benefit. We find about 70% of the employees take that program. So you know, if you don't have a large affinity to V. Christie, you know, that could be a very good option, and it will save significant amount of premium for everybody that does take that.
Has somebody like V. Christie been offered the same thing, offered some choice, or is this a deal with this company and West?
Well, yeah, we obviously went to all, as we were looking at all the hospitals out there, and mainly it's, you know, HCA Wesley, which has the locations, and then the 3 locations for V. Christie. We offered both of them the opportunity, and then Wesley said, you know what, we'll sweeten the pot, because if you notice, these rates are about 10% different. And when you look at 10% difference, and I'll kind of open the kimono, if you will, the provider, the actual physician discounts are all about the same, no matter which program you're on. The savings comes from what the hospital was willing to take in additional savings. So when you look at about 30% of your spend in any 1 year is normally inpatient. So for us to generate an almost 10% savings on 30% of your expenditures, you know, that's a significant, you know, significantly lower than what they were willing to take. V. Christie was not willing to go that deep, so that's why we offered that on the Wesley piece.
So it would be only Wesley, not Newton?
Newton will be there, yeah, that's not in Wichita. So anything north of Wichita, Newton would be there. All the hospitals up this way and north and Emporia and all that, it excludes the hospitals there in Wichita. Kansas Medical Center's technically in Andover, but
So
Newton would be in, yeah, absolutely.
Brian, so if you offer the Wesley only or the Wesley Preferred, you have to offer that on all your options. You couldn't mix and match, or you could mix and match.
You can mix and match as much as you wanted. I was making the assumption that you didn't want to eliminate your $500 deductible that you've had. If you chose to do that, I can even get you higher deductibles than that. I did provide an option to take the out-of-pocket maximums up significantly, and it showed some savings. But you know, if you're looking solely to save money on, you know, how do we get the lowest premium? Wesley Preferred is the absolute lowest premium you're going to get on that. But I also think you need to be cognizant of there may be individuals that have, you know, a V. Christie owned physician, or, you know, that want to go to V. Christie, and then you definitely want to have some options for them as well.
Any of these plans, you're a national company, correct?
Yes.
But one of my employees just took a trip and had an accident wherever they was at. Out of never even heard of the insurance.
Yep.
How's that handled when they go to the hospital there and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you do the Navigator app on your phone. You punch in Find a Doc, and you can put the name of the city.
This is an emergency. They don't have time. They just go somewhere.
Yeah, go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be covered. Even if you're on the Wesley Preferred and you have a heart attack and the EMS takes you to one of the V. Christie, we're going to cover it as in-network. Now, once you get stable, if you can be moved, we'll try to move you to Wesley. But if unless you're, you know, you're supposed to be discharged there too, then we'll leave you there. But yeah, we've got within the Wichita area, anything that's an emergency, you can go to any of them, and we still have deals with them if it happens and they're on that. So yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. I forgot to say that. But yeah, in an emergency, seek treatment anywhere, and then we'll do that. If you have the opportunity, but you needed to get in to see somebody, I would start with Teledoc. If you're traveling, and you call Teledoc, and they'll be able to route care, and they can also call in your script. But if you did need to see somebody and you wanted to look up, you know, how many people are close to my hotel or wherever you are, then you'd be able to do that right there from either your computer or your handheld.
So in that situation, if somebody has an emergency and they're taken to the heart hospital
Yep.
in Wichita,
Yep.
as far as the patient is concerned, the employee, would their out-of-pocket expenses,
On
deductibles,
the network.
co-pays,
It'll be network, yeah, if it's a true emergency, it'll stay on the
it'll
network
stay
side.
right in within, okay.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that's important.
Because I know, even though you said, well, if it's an emergency, you take them there, but then sometimes, you need to look at what's gonna happen if they do, even though they can go there.
Yeah,
So that's,
no, but it stays on the network side.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
Well, it happened to me, and that's why I'm saying not hard, but another situation, I'm waking up and I'm in the ambulance. And
Yeah.
where we going? What we doing? So that's why I was asking.
Yep, yeah. Emergency is covered anywhere in the world, actually, at the network level.
So in our case here,
Mhm.
if somebody's here in Marion and has a heart attack and gets into the ambulance, and we gotta drive a distance to the proper hospital, is the same, if they take them to the heart, is that still,
Yeah,
even though there's
still.
time to?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, clarify that.
Yeah,
Because you wouldn't go to the heart hospital, well, you could go for other things, but I mean, usually the average person would go there and have a heart attack. Probably
Yeah.
that would be their introduction to it, am I right?
it could be, well, I mean, sometimes they'll go there for stents or, different things, get a pacemaker. My dad's from Western Kansas, he came up, had a pacemaker installed there at the heart hospital.
Mhm.
But those are elective, that's not something you just do, because he was seen and then, 2 months later, he came back to heavy service.
Right.
So those you have the opportunity to plan to get to, and speaking of hearts, Wesley just won a major national award for heart care. So, that everybody thinks just because it says Kansas Heart, that's where you ought to go. Maybe not. The nice thing about Kansas Heart is everything's a private room, and they specialize in heart. So,
Really nice place.
yeah, yeah, totally. Went to see my dad a number of times in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You're not
Yep.
going there, are you?
Well, I mean, if you have any other questions with regard to, I think the key is, and Denise and I have competed against the other large carrier in town for a lot of years. And the things that we're doing are totally different than what you've had.
Correct.
So I would encourage that, once we get in, I call them cyber cafes, so, maybe 2 months after you take our coverage, we'd like to come back and then have everybody bring your handheld, bring your, however you're gonna look up your services. We wanna get you signed on to your own device, because we know that if you can look at that right off the bat, if you sign in once, you're more likely to be able to sign in. We did our first cyber cafe and it was the large call center down in Branson, and our wellness coordinator was going down there to help run that, and she calls me and says, hey, we only have 10 or 12 people signed up, and we got 3 days that we're planning on doing this, should I cancel the third day? And I said, no, just do the first day. The second guy in had a bunch of lab tests, a big panel of lab tests that the doctor was sending him over to the hospital for. Well, he opens up, he goes, well, I got this test, and he didn't want to be there in the first place. He was just doing it because he thought it was, would be cool. But he looks it up, and it was just shy of $1,000 for that whole panel of tests that his doctor was sending at the hospital. He could go to LabCorp for 48 bucks. And he said, wait a minute, what do I have to do? I said, well, have your doctor call the orders to LabCorp and do your test over there. So now, in full disclosure, he goes back to tell the rest of the office that he saved $1,000. He didn't really save $1,000, but he got close. And we filled 3 full days of people coming in saying, how do I do that? So this really shows me what your negotiated prices are? Yeah, right there. You got it right there. Either the palm of your hand or on your computer, however you want to look at it. Some people don't like to use phones to do it. It's a little quirky, when you're looking at 10 different providers, when you're comparing on your handheld, you can see it, but you have to know what you're looking at and do a lot of scrolling. versus on your computer on a bigger screen, you can see almost all of it just on one screen and not have to scroll.
And I've used LabCorp already, and it's awesome as far as pricing and the service that
Yeah.
they give. I've already went in for just complete blood counts and things like that for $10 is
Yep.
what they charged. And the hospitals were gonna charge several $100. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. The thing that is interesting is, I've been around, I've been in this market a lot of years. I was, in the old EquiCore days, if you remember all the way back then, EquiCore was purchased by Cigna. Cigna and Principal did an asset swap. They offered me a 65% pay cut over my 3-year average. I said, I don't think you want me. So I went to Iowa for a couple of years, came back in 1996 with Preferred Health Systems. Preferred Health Systems then became Coventry, which now is Aetna. So if you look at my resume, it looks like I can't hold a job, but the whole scenario is every time it's gotten better, and we've talked about transparency through that all of those companies were talking about transparency. It's never been able to be delivered. But I was in a conversation with our ex-CFO, the Preferred Health System CFO, is actually in the hospital at Newton. You mentioned Newton on that. And I was showing him our member payment estimator. And his MRIs were a little, he was, well, I can do it for less. And I said, well, why haven't you? So, well, but we've got these other, that I'm losing money over here. So, well, then negotiate what makes the most sense. So by virtue of us bringing the transparency into the market, it's changed our conversation with providers significantly, because we're saying now everybody's seeing this. Your competitors are down here, you're up here. We won't show them the exact thing, but if they're a member, and we insure a lot of hospitals, a lot of physicians, they can look right on there and say, oh, well, we might need to change. So we're seeing our trends coming down. We're seeing a lot of the costs overall coming down, and it's mainly saving. If you're having a large portion of the deductible, it's saving you money too. It's not just saving one side of the equation.
So explain LabCorp to me, because I've had all my work done through the hospitals. So I've paid apparently a lot of money if it's in comparison to what you're saying.
Yeah,
You
it is.
could probably pay a fair amount of money, yeah. You can have your doctor draw and then send it to LabCorp, or you can go to actually Quest is one of our preferred vendors. We've got LabCorp in a few areas. But you can have them send to one of our freestanding labs, and it's literally a tenth of the cost.
So how do you, when you go in the doctor's office and they draw your blood, or the hospital, how do you just tell them? I mean, that this is what you want, or?
I think Hillsborough
Yeah.
Hospital does that. Hillsborough Hospital will take it to Quest or wherever you want down in
Yeah.
Wichita.
It depends on where, in Wichita, a lot of the physicians' offices draw. In some of the rural areas, they do send you to the hospital to do that and say, well, will they send it out? And if the answer is no, then we need to, however you're doing it, we can tell
And you
them
just
about
walk
it.
right in. And
Yeah.
in some cases, you don't even need a doctor. If you just want to get a CBC or something, they'll do it for you.
Yeah, it's always best to go in with the doctor. I mean, if you're doing it, that's going to be back reported through the health insurance. That's, and it saves a significant amount of money. And you'll be able to see once you're on the program. You say, hey, this is the test I need. Where should I go? And it'll tell you right there. You can go to your doctor and show them, here's where I want my blood sent. And then,
How many of my employees in the audience know LabCorp? Everybody? Some of you do, some of you don't. I guess we just haven't talked about it.
Yeah, you can just go
It's
take
in
your
Wichita,
order.
there's an office in Wichita, and you just say, I want my lab drawn at LabCorp, and they'll give you an order, and you just take it in there with you, and it's $25 or $35,
It's
depends
just,
on
guess
what
we
you
haven't
have
discussed
done,
it. It's new to me. It's-
compared
But I don't know
to
the doctor.
600 over here or
Yes.
something.
yeah.
It's
It
outrageous.
really is remarkable how much difference in prices that individuals have negotiated. So, whether it's on the pharmacy, whether it's on the individual tests, but this is putting the power, you can actually be a consumer. I liken the story to, if you go into the supermarket and there are no prices on anything and you're just grabbing cans and you're taking it in, you know that this is beans, you don't know if it's the most expensive, least expensive. You get up there and they're, running the barcodes and they put everything in a bag and say, see ya, and you go, well, I want to pay. And they say, oh no, we'll send you a bill in 30 days. which is kind of how healthcare has worked, because you get your EOB and then you figure out where it is. This is actually allowing it to happen up front and not have to wait until you actually get the EOB so you can take matters into your own hands. We mentioned the rating before in the other presentation. Your business is about the size. We would be about 40% credible, meaning we're going to take 40% of whatever your claims are running. We trend it forward and do all that. We're going to take 40% of that number and 40% of our base rate, which is the average of everybody in the area, and then add those two together, and that's where your rates will come out. We've been seeing trends, effective trends. We've seen use trends start to come down, but we're seeing our overall trends are in the 9 to 10 range year over year.
And may I ask you a question on
Yep.
that formulation that you're using? I'm almost thinking that sometimes, like when you have an insurance carrier like what we had over all the years, and so your claim rate, they have quite good documentation on that. Whether you have, let's just say, for example, you have a child born, preemie,
Right.
okay, and mom's in the hospital for a couple days, the baby's in the NICU or something for several days,
Yep.
or something, get a great big bill, okay, and the insurance company pays it.
Yeah.
Well, then when it comes time for your rate claim, I'm thinking the existing carrier that paid that, the next year, of course, they're gonna bump up the premiums because they wanna recover some of that. However, if you get another carrier like you or whoever, they're gonna look at that situation like, mom's out of the hospital, baby's out of the hospital, everybody's good, that's no longer a consideration so much in the rate claim. Am I close to right?
Here's how we do it in large claims. A very good question. Let's say you have a $500,000 claim. Just throw it in there. Within our model, I told you that 40% was going to be based upon your actual experience. But within the experience, we're going to say no one person can cost you more than $150,000. So we're going to throw $350,000 of that $500,000 claim out, and then we're going to trend forward that lower amount. And then then that'll become your 40% of your rate, and then 60% comes off the.
So that's the same thing, you're throwing that.
We're throwing anything over a certain dollar amount. The bigger you are, the higher our pooling rates are, but 150 is kind of one of our lower pooling rates that we have for a group your size.
$100 employees. Is that what total count? What we're doing now?
We're a little higher.
Yeah, a little higher still.
So you're talking about transparency and some of these different things are starting to stabilize the market, and some things are starting to come down. If we would select you, you're gonna offer us a 2 or 3 year plan?
As far as a rate cap,
Yep.
I don't have that in my back pocket. I could ask, but 100 Life Group, because the more credible you get, the more willing we are to offer a rate cap, meaning that your claims are not gonna swing a whole lot year over year. If we had that $500,000 baby, if you will, that we were just talking about, you could go from an 80% loss ratio to 120 in a hurry with 100 individuals on the program. But no, I don't have a rate cap that I could offer for a second year.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking,
No, that's a good question.
we spend a lot of time on this renewal every year, and then the county clerk's office, if we would change, we'll be burning the midnight oil
Yeah.
to get this in place by May 1.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll come and help you do meetings and provide, summaries of benefits and all of that. What we'll probably do, the thing that I've found works best is if you're offering multiple plans, I'm gonna bring plans on different colored paper. So when we're talking about them, if I see somebody holding a white sheet of paper and I'm talking off the green, I can say, I know you're not on the same page with me because you're looking at the other. But it's so easy that because they're all so similar, it's so easy to get on the wrong page if all the colors are the same.
I see you have quite a few also in your network here. I think, am I right, the OAMC 500, is that the Wesley? Or is that just the
It could
regular?
go either one.
Okay.
It's either one.
You have several also to where there's no copay, and also I see several of them where you also have the deductible as well. It looks like it's pretty much
because some of them say after deductible, some say in, so you'd almost have to read it pretty close to see which one is, but there's quite a bit of basic care, but there is no deductibles and no co-pays as well. It seems,
Yeah,
that's really the way
when
to
you go
go.
when you go to a physician, you're gonna be in a copay situation, whether it's substance abuse or, an urgent care facility, or if you call call Teladoc, as I mentioned
okay,
before.
so, yeah, you do have office co-pays for the doctor, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
$25.50.
It was your
Primary care
woman's health
specialist.
preventative that you don't, okay.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that, as we talked about a little, Denise, the preventive benefits are set, it's a federal law, so we're all gonna be very similar on that.
Okay. I was jumping ahead on some of these things. Okay, I follow it now. We're on the same page. The light one.
I have two questions. Maybe you said this, but I just need clarification.
Okay.
So do you have a contract with both hospitals here in the county and all of the providers?
Yep.
Okay. And then my other question is, if I would get the flu and the doctor says you need to go to the hospital, do I have to go to Wesley or can I go
You can
to
go
St.
here, you
Luke?
can go, or you just stay local, or you can go to Salina if you wanted, or Newton, wherever you wanted to go. You don't, if we take the Wesley Preferred, you don't have to go there to get benefits. That's just, it's a better way to look at it as who's not covered as opposed to who's covered. Because we called it Wesley Preferred because we had to come up with a name for it. But that means if you're in Wichita, you need to go to Wesley to get the highest level of benefits. But if anything outside of the Wichita area, and I'm including Andover as Wichita, Newton No is a part, and anything around that, you can go to any of those hospitals and get the highest level of benefit.
Any other employee have any questions?
No more questions? Is that all you have, Ryan?
That's it. If you want to look a little more in depth at the dental and the vision, I can do that, or if tell me, hey, we're serious about that, I'll get you the new rates, and then we'll go from there. I don't know if you were, as you noticed, when I quoted the 2-tier and the 4-tier, within the 2-tier program, your family rate goes down a little bit, but your single rate goes up significantly to handle that scenario. So if you look at on the 4-tier rate, your single being down so far, you could take a significant amount of that savings to help offset the additional on the family and still be able to have a very viable. And you may have some other people that would even jump on the coverage if they could just do, employee and spouse or employee and child and children. So that would also be something to consider.
So did you send a copy of the updated, the premiums
Yep.
reflecting the discount?
Yep.
I mean, I don't like the calculation of it.
Yeah, no, I'll get it calculated. If you were going to, I could probably get something in the middle between that if you don't take the dental and the vision. But so I wanted to hear kind of what your interest level was on that, and
As far as vision and dental, well, it doesn't hurt much price, does it? I mean, I'm not on the dental and the vision. He's
I think
asking-
our dental rates, if I looked at where you were, our dental rates are below where you were this current year before you got to your renewal, but we don't have the unlimited scenario.
Okay,
Which
You
is-
don't have unlimited on the dental?
We don't have unlimited on the dental.
You've
We
got a cap
3,000,
somewhere,
we got
1,500.
3,000 cap.
3,000?
Yeah, and we see very few people that go above that cap. And you gotta have some major work done, and then sometimes that'll get into an accident, car accident or whatever, and then a big chunk of that's gonna go to medical anyway. So it just kinda depends.
okay. Yeah, I would like to have the updated price sheet.
Okay, yep.
If everybody else might. So, okay. There's no other questions. Thank you, Brian.
Great,
We
thank you.
really appreciate it.
Appreciate you letting us come up
Absolutely.
and
I'd like to thank you both for being here today, Michelle.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity and your time.
sorry, why do you have with you? Tracy. Acey, and her last name is Gould. Yeah, she's training, so she was kind of observing.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you, that was, very good, yeah.
You done?
So, yeah, I think that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're done.